Where are some of the top schools in the Portland metropolitan area? How do they get funded? And how does Oregon rank nationally? We're going to cover all that and more in today's quick video. All right, so we're going to start with a few national stats here first. But before we get into it, if you've ever talked to a realtor about schools, realtors are not supposed to speak directly to buyers about schools. It can lead to steering. We're supposed to direct people to certain resources, online resources. In this case, speaking to a broad audience, you, the viewer here on YouTube, we can talk about schools, but we're just going to be talking about data and just accessing information online. So any of the information that we access in this video, anything that I reference, if you want any of that information, you can shoot us an email or shoot us a text and we'll point you to it. All right, overall rankings. So according to the latest Education Week's Quality Counts report, for 2021, which measures K through 12 education in all 50 states, Oregon ranks 36th overall, receiving a score of 69.7 out of 100. National average is 75.2. Student achievement, Oregon ranks 34th in student achievement, measures academic outcomes such as test scores, graduation rates, college readiness. School funding, Oregon's per pupil spending is just below the national average. Latest data I have here for you is from 2018-2019. Oregon spent an average of just under $13,000 per student, $12,900 per student, compared to the national average of $14,200 per student. It is worth noting, too, that Oregon's cost of living is ranked on the higher side. All things being equal, you would expect Oregon to be a little bit on the higher side rather than lower side. On teacher quality, Oregon ranks 36th in teacher quality, which takes into account factors such as teacher education levels, certification, and experience. Then early childhood education, Oregon is one of the few states that offers free preschool for all children from low-income families, which is shown to improve academic outcomes in later years, obviously. According to U.S. News and World Report's 2022 Best State Rankings, Oregon is ranked 17th overall for education. According to the U.S. News and World Report's 2022 Best State Rankings, Oregon is ranked 17th overall for education. Ranking takes into account factors such as pre through K through 12 education, higher education, and the workforce. Also worth noting, Multnomah County voters approved a new tax in November of 2020, just a couple years ago, to establish a tuition-free preschool program for 3 to 4-year-olds. Funds high-quality, developmentally appropriate, culturally responsive preschool experiences. Tax went into effect January 1st of 2021. Also note that most area residents do not owe these taxes because they apply to higher incomes. The preschool tax for all is a 1.5% on taxable income over $125,000 for individuals and $200,000 for joint filers. There's additional 1.5% on taxable income over $250,000 for individuals and $400,000 for joint filers, and that rate will increase by 0.8% in 2026. All right, let's take a look at the map of the best schools in the Portland metropolitan area. First, real quick, if you're not familiar with the area, what is the metropolitan area? You could probably put a circle around it, and as far west as Hillsboro, as far south as maybe Wilsonville, roughly, and then as far east is Gresham. And then you have the Columbia River, which separates the state of Oregon and the state of Washington. So you have that natural border right there. Other side, of course, being Vancouver. Now, sometimes you do hear Vancouver and Portland kind of lumped in together, the Portland-Vancouver area. Now, if you don't live around this area, if you're not familiar with this area, if you're talking very broadly about maybe the news or the weather, sometimes you hear Portland, Vancouver, but anybody that lives in Portland doesn't think of themselves as living in the Portland, Vancouver area. People who live in Vancouver, similarly, they don't think of themselves as living in the Portland, Vancouver, or the Vancouver, Portland area. So in this case, this website, which we're using, niche.com, does have Vancouver as being part of the Portland metropolitan area. That's why you see some of these school districts listed up there. But we're going to disregard those for now. And you see Sandy listed here as well. Most people that live in Sandy don't really consider themselves as living in the Portland metro area. A little bit too far out. Canby's a little bit on the fringes too. And then St. Paul, no idea why they have St. Paul on here. St. Paul's a little tiny town well outside of what would be considered like the Portland metropolitan area. St. Paul is mostly known for their annual rodeo. They have a very big rodeo. In fact, I think it's the largest rodeo in the country for a town of their size. It's like a town of like under 1,000 people, really small town. All right, so the school district. So what you're probably going to notice right out of the gate is that you do have districts representing pretty much all of the Portland metropolitan area. Probably the gap that you'll probably notice throughout this video is you're not going to find much out here representing Fairview, Gresham, Troutdale. Everything else is pretty much has some sort of representation for one of the top school districts. All right, so the biggest school district is going to be the Portland Public Schools. I believe you're going to have 5 high schools there in that district. So you see the Portland Public Schools gets a B rating. I would say anecdotally of all the school districts that we have on the list, probably here Portland Public Schools probably the least. Aside from that, and this area represents, this is downtown Portland over here on the west side of the Willamette River, which goes right through the middle of Portland. We have North Portland over here, and then this is southeast. And then over here is kind of getting into North Portland, and this is East Portland. So you've got Park Rose out here in northeast, and then you've got David Douglas School District, southeast Portland. And then again, you're not going to find much east of here. Now coming down here south, North Clackamas School District. This is going to cover Milwaukee. There's a couple high schools here in Milwaukee and Rex Putnam High School. You got a couple of high schools here out in Happy Valley, Clackamas High School, and then they have a brand new high school, Adrian C. Nelson High School, which was named after the first black woman nominated to the Oregon Supreme Court. Adrian C. Nelson High School is going to be one of the newest high schools in the Portland metropolitan area. Now, these districts are really going to vary widely. Now, Gladstone School District, again, Portland, almost 50,000 kids. Just for reference, Gladstone School District, going to be one high school there, Gladstone High School, 1,800 students. So very, very small area right there. Oregon City High School, one high school as well for that district. Again, Sandy, we're going to disregard for now as well as Canby. West Linn-Wilsonville School District, this is probably one that you hear about a lot. And we're going to go to the list of rankings here in just a moment. You're going to find this one very high up on the list. And at the top of the list is going to be the Lake Oswego School District. By the way, West Linn-Wilsonville School District, 2 high schools in there, West Linn and Wilsonville High School. Lake Oswego School District, sometimes this gets overlooked, I think. There are 2 high schools in the Lake Oswego High School District, Lake Oswego High School and Lake Ridge High School. Now, they're both rated as an A or an A+. I don't know any reason why Lake Oswego High School would be any better than Lake Ridge High School, but you do hear more about Lake Oswego High School. Hear about their sports a little bit more. They have had a few high-profile or higher-profile names come through that high school. Players that are either playing professionally right now or have family members that are playing professionally. You might recognize the last name. But other than that, Lake Ridge High School is going to be just as good as Lake Oswego High School, but you don't hear about it as much. You've got the Tigard-Tualatin School District, which is also going to be high on the list. And then out here west, you have Beaverton and the Hillsboro School District. So an A for Beaverton, a B for Hillsboro, and then Forest Grove. Like I said, this is getting out past what you'd kind of consider the Portland metropolitan area. This is a little bit farther than if anybody wants to keep any proximity to Portland, whether it's just for the food, the restaurants, the nightlife, whatever it may be. Usually this is kind of the cutoff. It takes you maybe 30 minutes or so, maybe 40 minutes traffic. If traffic is bad, to get from Hillsboro to Portland. If you're out in Forest Grove, you're talking like a good solid hour. So for most people that want to keep proximity to Portland, Forest Grove is going to be a little bit too far away. All right, so let's get into the list. And by the way, welcome back to the channel, or if you're new to this channel, living in Oregon, you'd like to know more about what it's like to live in Oregon. If you're thinking about moving to Oregon, my name's Seth Marchant. I'm a licensed broker in the state of Oregon. As much as we love making these videos, we'd also love to help you move here. So if you're somebody that's thinking about taking the next steps and moving here, you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below in the description of this video to schedule a Zoom call with us. You can find all of our contact information down there below, and make sure and subscribe. That way you'll continue to see our videos. So Lake Oswego School District coming in at number 1, that West Linn-Wilsonville School District that I mentioned at number 2. Camas was over here. That's actually, let me take you back real quick to the map. Camas is over in the Vancouver area. It's over here. Really up and coming area. You're hearing more and more about it. Nice area. A a lot of growth out there, a lot of new homes being built out there. All right, back to our list. Riverdale, let me take you back to the map on that one real quick here. Riverdale is going to be sort of like Gladstone, right across the river, actually. Very small school district. One grade school and one high school, I think just a couple thousand kids. So that's a very small, also a very, very affluent area. Homes there are going to be about as expensive as anywhere else in the Portland metropolitan area. The Sherwood School District, which was right over by the Wilsonville West Linn School District right here. Kind of, again, this is kind of people living in Sherwood, kind of outside the Portland metropolitan area, right there, kind of on the edge. Beaverton, number 6. Very popular area. A lot of people move to Beaverton. There's a lot of jobs out towards Beaverton and Hillsboro. So a lot of people that are moving to Portland, oftentimes moving to the west side to that area. There's Tigard-Tualatin coming in at 7. 8 is up in Washington. We'll disregard that one. St. Paul, that's the rodeo place that I mentioned to you. Not sure why they have that in the Portland area. And then Evergreen, also up towards Ridgefield in Washington. If we disregard those, though, and we're just looking at Oregon, you would see North Clackamas, which is Milwaukee and Happy Valley, and Oregon City rounding out the top 10. All right, so a few other ways to measure schools. How about ACT scores? Look this up for 2021. Where did Oregon fall? So a lot of rankings don't have Oregon in the top 25, sort of have Oregon around 25 or below, like we saw a moment ago. So Oregon kind of in general falls a little bit below a lot of the metrics that are used to rank schools. In this case, for ACT scores, actually Oregon comes in at 13, and I highlighted a few other states that are kind of relevant. A lot of people coming from California to move to Oregon, followed by Washington, and then get a lot of movers from Texas and Arizona as well too. So I thought it was relevant to highlight those. All right, how about private schools? Let me give you a list of private schools. Portland metro area is home to a wide range of private schools. Here's a list of the top 20 best Portland private schools according to privateschoolreview.com. There's 37 high schools for the 2023 school year, serving 7,600 students. The best top-ranked schools include Catlin Gables School, Oregon Episcopal School, and the Westside Christian High School. Average tuition cost, this is nationally, is just under $14,000, coming in at $13,700. For Oregon, it's just a hair over $12,000. 33%, so a third of the schools in Portland, Oregon, are religiously affiliated. On that note, too, I will say that I've had a handful of friends. I've lived in Oregon my entire life. Had a handful of friends that went through some of these private, religiously affiliated schools that weren't necessarily super religious themselves. If you're wondering about that, if you're not religious, if your kids aren't, religious, most of my friends that went through these schools said the schools are great and didn't necessarily mind the religion aspect of it if they weren't necessarily religious. In fact, they said that their experience, I had a few friends that transferred as well too, was better in the private schools than the public schools, again, even if they didn't necessarily have that religious affiliation. So there's 77 schools for elementary schools, and then preschools listed at 88. That number seems really low to me. I'm sure there's more than that, but that's what they have here on their list. So in Portland, again, about a third of the schools, religious affiliation. The Archdiocese of Portland operates a network of 20 Catholic schools in the area, and they offer faith-based education grounded in Catholic teachings. Probably the most notable one, Central Catholic High School. I know a few people that went there. They said it was great. Another type of private school in Portland, you have independent schools. In addition to the independent schools, there's specialized private schools as well, such as Montessori schools and Waldorf schools. All right, so how does Oregon pay for its schools? Oregon pay for its schools through a combination of state and local funding sources. The state of Oregon provides a majority of funding for K through 12 education through its general fund, which is primarily supported by income. We have higher income taxes here in the state of Oregon compared to other states. Oregon Department of Education distributes state funds to school districts based on the formula that takes into account factors such as number of students, the district's wealth, and the cost of providing education. This formula is designed to ensure that schools with greater needs to receive more funding. So in addition to state funding, school districts may also receive funding from local property taxes. If you own a home, live here, or move here and buy a home, you will see this. Local voters can issue bonds to pay for certain things for funding for schools. Oregon also receives federal funding for K through 12 education, and it's worth noting that Oregon's K through 12 education funding has increased in recent years. Many school districts still face budget constraints and funding challenges. You're probably going to hear that. That's probably not unique to Oregon. You're probably going to hear that across the board. Also worth noting, the Oregon bond issue law, under Oregon law, any school district must have a ballot question to the district's voters in order to issue new bonds. Oregon allows bonds to be issued depending on how a school board calls for the bonds to be used, specifically written via the resolution approving the bonds. All right, and then finally, what are some of the best things and some of the things that need improvement? Best things, arts and culture. Portland metro area schools are known for their arts and culture programs. Many schools offer music, theater, and dance programs, as well as opportunities for students to explore the city's vibrant art scene. Sports programs. Portland metro area schools have strong sports programs. I can attest to that, again, growing up in this area and playing sports myself, going to a lot of sporting events. I will say that Portland and Oregon in general doesn't really feel like a big sports state. In fact, it feels like we oftentimes get overlooked. Our probably most nationally or internationally recognized sporting team, the Portland Trail Blazers, part of the National Basketball Association, the NBA. Sometimes feels like we get overlooked a little bit. Our sports teams here don't seem to get as much coverage as some of the other states, especially out east. But the sports programs and the school spirit and people supporting the sports, in my experience, in Portland and Oregon is really great. A lot of people are into sports here and do a lot to support the sports programs for kids. All right, dual credit programs. Oregon has a strong dual credit program that allows high school students to take college-level courses for credit. According to the National Alliance of Concurrent Enrollment Partnerships, Oregon has one of the highest percentages of high school students earning college credit through dual credit programs. STEM education. Oregon has a strong focus on science, technology, engineering, and math education. The state has several programs and initiatives aimed at improving STEM education, including the Oregon Mathematics and Science Partnership and the Oregon Robotics Tournament and Outreach Program. And then early learning. Oregon has made significant, as we mentioned, investments in early childhood education in recent years. Things that need improvement, probably going to be similar to other states' funding. Many Portland schools in the metro area struggle with funding, can lead to overcrowded classrooms, outdated textbooks, limited resources, things like that. Achievement gaps. Despite efforts to promote equity and diversity, there's still achievement gaps in the Portland metro area. Safety concerns. In recent years, there have been concerns about safety in the Portland metro schools, including incidents of bullying, harassment, and violence. I can say anecdotally, what do I hear from friends, family, online, groups on Facebook, people talking about schools? Probably those two things. You still hear about bullying, and then maybe one other thing, complaints about kids with disabilities not having the resources or schools not providing the resources that the parents would like for their kids with disabilities. So I think in conclusion, the Portland metropolitan area, relative to the rest of the country, relative to the state, has good schools. Everyone I know growing up, going through the school systems here, thought the schools were pretty good. Don't hear a whole lot of complaints. If you have more questions about schools or any of these things that we've referenced in this video, you can call us, text us, email us, or click the link below in the description if you want to schedule a Zoom call with us. Typically best for people that are thinking about taking the next steps in moving to the state of Oregon. Again, as licensed brokers, as much as we like making these videos, we'd love to help you move to Oregon. So if you're somebody that's thinking about taking those steps, get in touch with us, send us an email, give us a call, shoot us a text. And if you made it to into this video and you want to see more videos about what it's like to live in Oregon, if you're thinking about moving here, make sure and hit that subscribe button and tap the bell. That way you'll be notified every time we drop a new video, which is twice a week, every week. And until next time, take care, everyone.